Chapter 22. Description of Kshetra Sanyas. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Bhrushandi continued the narration of the legend. He said, O Devas, I shall narrate the great merits that the joy-giving Mayura Kshetra bestows. Listen attentively. In ancient times, a Brahmin named Devapriya was born in the lineage of Angiras. He was virtuous and had great love for Ganesha. Being an ardent devotee of Ganesha, he followed the path of Ganapatya. With an earnest desire for liberation, he would perform deeds as ordained. This inspired him to conduct pilgrimages and he embarked on the same. Following the scriptures, he undertook a yatra of all the important Tirtha Kshetras on earth and returned home. He would worship Ganesha along with his wife and children devotedly. He decided to perform the yatra of Mayur Kshetra and offer services to Lord Ganesha. He wished to permanently reside in the Kshetra with his family. He prepared to migrate to the Mayur Kshetra with his family. To dissuade him from his decision of migrating, Maya created obstacles in his path. His possessions and money, which he had accumulated for his migration, were robbed by thieves during the journey due to the influence of Maya. He became extremely distressed. He thought, I must have been a grave sinner. That is why Vigneshwara has created these obstacles. I shall continue my journey to the Mayura Kshetra with a pure mind. However, when he contemplated thus, the Brahmin was afflicted with fever and became feeble. Despite the fever, he went home and commenced a Chandrayana Vrata with determination. On the third day, he was blessed with by Vignesha and his obstacles started diminishing. Now, understand the character of the Brahmin. By the grace of Lord Ganesha, he was cured of his fever. Assuming the form of a Brahmin, Lord Ganesha met him. He called out to his son and offered him generous wealth and disappeared. The son recounted the events to his father. Devapriya realized that the Brahmin was none other than Lord himself. He became rid of his worries. He went to Mayur Kshetra. He took asylum in the Sanctum Sanctorum and performed the Dwaryatra and other rites. He remained engrossed in the worship of Ganesha and in the end merged with Lord Ganesha. The merits earned by visiting all the pilgrim Kshetra in the universe can be obtained by performing the yatra of only the Mayura Kshetra. The Devas once again asked Bhrushandi, O eminent Brahmarshi, you have told us about how thieves and dacoits also visit Mayura Kshetra. What merits have they earned to be fortunate enough to attain divinity at Mayur Kshetra? Bhrushandi replied, even if a sinner remembers the slightest glory of this Kshetra heard in any of his previous lifetimes on his deathbed, then after death they are reborn in Mayur Kshetra. When they die here, they attain union with Ganesha. O Devas, if the sinners have heard about the glory of the path of Ganesha and at the time of death remember it, then in the next birth, they will unknowingly follow the path of Ganesha. If they had followed the path after acquiring knowledge, it will lead them to Mayura Kshetra and divinity. Those who have never been initiated into the Ganesh Samskara, do not have the right to enter Mayura Kshetra. I shall narrate a story to elucidate this further. Listen carefully. A Kshatriya king named Sulabha ruled the kingdom of Angadesha righteously. When he heard of the glory of Mayura Kshetra, he handed over the reins of his kingdom to his son and decided to relocate to Mayura Kshetra. He completed all the rituals as prescribed in the scriptures, arrived at the Mayura Kshetra and performed all Dwaryatras. During his stay, he performed the annual Dwaryatra of the Devas. It was then that he decided to adopt Kshetra Sanyas. He asked his wife to return with all her worldly possessions and lived by himself at the Kshetra. Bhairava created confusion in his mind. He thought, is the Kshetra really the most important? There is no Kshetra comparable to Kashi in the whole universe. After all, Mayuresha is the son of Shiva. Then there is no doubt about it. According to Vedas, Brahma is all-pervading. Hence, Ganesha cannot be the supreme Brahma. This means that I have misunderstood the words of the Puranas and become confused. Therefore, I shall go to Kashi Kshetra. Thinking thus, he left Mayur Kshetra and proceeded to Kashi. On the way, the king became seriously ill and died. Due to his previous virtues, he was reborn as a Brahmin in Kashi Kshetra because of his desire to be in Kashi. Thinking of his own welfare, he resided at Kashi. When he was on the deathbed, Vishweshwara himself initiated him into the single syllabled Taraka mantra, Gam. Hearing this, Shaunaka said to Suta, "You have definitely narrated a joy-giving and incredible legend. However, I wish to express my doubts. Ramanama has been described as Taraka mantra in the Puranas. Similarly, in some places, it is mentioned that Shiva Panchakshara mantra is the Taraka mantra. In other scriptures, the Omkar mantra, the Shakti and Surya mantras have also been described as Taraka mantras. Ganesha Ekakshara mantra has also been mentioned as a Taraka mantra. How can we identify which is the relevant Taraka mantra? This is my dilemma. Therefore, please clarify our doubt. There's no one else in this whole world that has the authority on the subject and who will be able to clarify this doubt." Suta replied, "The word Gakaram present in Ekakshara mantra of Ganesha represents the four-faced Brahma, who is the form of reflection of the Supreme Brahma. Vishnu is the all-pervading preserver. The syllable Akara in the Ekakshara mantra represents Vishnu. The destroyer of both is Shankara, which is represented by the Anuswara, the nasal sound which is marked by a dot above the line in the Ekakshara mantra by the grace of Ganesha. Surya, who is the one who ensures that these three perform their karmas, is represented by the nasal twang, Anunasika, which is present in the Ekakshara mantra. O Brahmin, the physical body, Deha, of these four forms is sound and is Shakti. The sound Gang is Vani. She is Shakti. This is the manifest form of the mantra. She resides in the mantra and is visible in the mantra. The sound that is heard when the mantra Gang is recited is the visible form. They have all created the world. It is represented by Omkara. They conduct their divine plays in the world. That is why the mantra is chanted along with Omkara. Om Gang. All this means Ganesha. All those who are well versed in Vedas have described the Lord as Ganesha in the Vedas. Shankara and the other Lord of Devas and the various Jagat Brahmas are contained in the Ganesh mantra. Just as all Devas are an Amsha of Ganesha, similarly all the mantras are the form of Ganesha. Different kinds of people reside in Kashi and worship different Devas with devotion. Amongst them, those who follow their own dharma steadfastly are initiated by Shankara himself into the Taraka mantra. Those who follow the Shakta dharma are initiated into the Shakta Taraka mantra by the compassionate Shiva. Those who follow the Saura dharma are initiated into Saura Taraka mantra. Shaivites are initiated into the Shaiva Taraka mantra and Vaishnavites into the Vishnu Taraka mantra by Shiva himself. Those who follow their own dharma and continue to perform their daily karmas are initiated by Shiva into the Omkar mantra to please the Karmanga Devata. When the devotee is a worshipper of Ganesha, Shiva happily initiates them into the single syllabled Ganesha Taraka mantra. After acquiring the Taraka mantra, they meditate and chant the mantra, practice yoga and reside in Kailash in the company of Shiva. Then the yogis experience revelation of the deity of the mantra and become engrossed in its devotion and wander. At the time of the final annihilation, all of them are merged into Mahesha. At the time of recreation of the world, they are reborn in their earlier human form and continue with yoga sadhana. O Munis, later they give up the mantra and the purpose of the mantra and are absorbed into their respective chosen Brahmas. Those residents of Kashi who commit sins are not initiated by Shankara into any Taraka mantra. After death, they ascend to Kailash and undergo torments inflicted by Bhairava. After undergoing the ordeals and when the whole world comes to an end, they die but are reborn. Shaunaka said to Suta, "The Munis well versed in the Puranas and who can expound on the Vedas have said that people who visit pilgrimage places with different intentions and die in the Tirtha Kshetra attain liberation. Just by bathing in the Tirtha, liberation can be attained. Similarly, liberation can also be attained by observing various vratas. This is the tradition. Munis have explained a form of karma called Sakama karma. They have also described the various rewards attained. O Brahmin, some of them are rewarded in this world and some in other lokas. Some deeds bear minimal rewards while others are generously rewarded. Please elucidate on this enigma. People who die in Kashi attain liberation. Then why are they reborn? Sutta replied, Shabda Brahma, the transcendental sound vibration identified with the Supreme, is the only guru of all disciples. Disciples are classified into 4 types. Uttama, excellent, Madhyama, average, Adhama, inferior, and worst among the inferior are Adhama Adhama. Those who are indulgent, seek physical gratification, and perform karmas because of extreme sorrow are characterized by Maharshis as the worst amongst the inferior, the Adhama Adhama. They are rewarded sparsely in this world and in the other world. If they are made aware that the rewards will be sparse, they will lose interest in performing karmas. So that they do not discontinue performing karmas, the rewards offered to Uttama and Adhama categories are the same. Those Adhama disciples who perform karmas out of fear or social pressures are rewarded slightly better. The Madhyama disciples are always devoted and steadfast in their Dharma, but want desire fulfillment and are rewarded at appropriate times. Those who perform karmas without expecting any rewards are Uttama disciples. They can enjoy the rewards of their karma unceasingly till the end of the kalpa. There is no doubt about it. I shall narrate the rewards as per the yuga briefly. In Krita Yuga, karmas are rewarded instantly. Karmas done in Treta Yuga bear slightly delayed rewards if they are not affected by any other obstacles. In the Dwapara Yuga, due to the absence of dharma or righteousness, most of the rewards are received in other lokas. In the absence of any other obstacles, they may also be rewarded in this world. In Kali Yuga, due to impact of the times, one is rewarded for one's karma in other worlds or even in the next birth. In Kali Yuga, people perform karmas which are bereft of sattva guna and are performed with asuric tendencies. As a result, the rewards are bizarre. Only those karmas done as ordained are blessed with apt rewards. Otherwise, they are given asuric rewards. In Krita Yuga, the rewards for the karma performed are instant. In Treta Yuga, as karmas are rendered futile, they need to be performed again. In Dwapara Yuga, karmas must be performed thrice to reap rewards. In Kali Yuga, karmas need to be performed 4 times to reap rewards. If a person performs good karmas, he may reap instant rewards. If not, he may have to perform it 4 times depending on the dharma of the prevalent yuga. If there are any more unconvincing details about the glory of Kashi and other kshetras, I shall be happy to clarify your doubts. If one dies without attaining self-realization, he does not attain emancipation. This is the highest truth. The rest is all a delusion. It has been mentioned in the Shastras that all gods are immortal. However, at the end of Brahma's day, they too cease to exist. During that period, humans undergo innumerable births. Hence, in comparison, they are considered as immortal. The Shastras tell us that the 5 Devas are Ishwaras or the Supreme, but they too face obstacles, and hence it is evident that they are not Ishwara. At the time of total annihilation, Brahma and other Ishwaras too attain death just like a common mortal. This has been laid in Shastras. They too are subject to liberation in the lokas or kshetras. If they too are subject to death, then how can they bestow immortality? Indra and other devas are subject to death. But since they are not powerful, since they are more powerful than the mortals, they are viewed as immortal. Ordinary mortals do not see their birth or death. Shastras have mentioned them as deathless or immortal for the humans to revere them as Ishvara. Hence, the Shastras have also imagined a state of emancipation where there is no birth or death. The Vedas, Shastras and Puranas mention that only Swananda is exempt from destruction because he is identified with Brahma. Liberation is different from him. The one who bestows supreme bliss, Swananda, is the joy bestowing Brahma. He is described as joy bestowing, as even the ones who want to attain bliss but are less deserving can attain some joy. This has been said by the wise. Some Pandits have described 7 Tirtha Kshetras located in some towns as capable of bestowing liberation. 6 among them can bestow merits by living in the Kshetra prior to death. The only exception is Kashi. If a devotee has spent his lifetime virtuously and dies in the Kshetra, he is liberated and is reborn as a wise yogi. According to the enigma elucidated in the Vedas, he will definitely attain union with his chosen tutelary deity. A sinner who has listened to discourses on yoga during his lifetime and remembers them on his deathbed will be reborn in Mayura Kshetra. A person who has committed grave sins will, on his own or inspired by something, eventually come to Mayura Kshetra and die in the Kshetra. There is no doubt about it. Wherever he may be, if he remembers the glory of Mayura Kshetra on his deathbed, he will be reborn in the Mayura Kshetra. If he remembers the yatra of Mayura Kshetra that he had performed in his lifetime on his deathbed, then he will be reborn in Mayura Kshetra. If he has an affinity towards Ganesha because of association with other devotees, then he will come to the Mayura Kshetra and die here. If residents of the Kshetra of Shiva, Vishnu or other devas and worships Ganesha, he too attains rebirth at Mayura Kshetra. He will follow the path of Dharma and will be blessed with excellent samskaras and will eventually adopt Kshetra Sanyas and die in the Kshetra. Yogis who have attained yogic peace elsewhere and have merged with Ganesha will come to Mayura Kshetra and become the form of Ganesha. Yogis who have merged with Brahma will attain Gati irrespective of the type of recollections they have on the deathbed. The rule stating that ascent will depend on the thoughts on the deathbed will not apply to those who die at Mayur Kshetra. After having offered these explanations, I shall continue the legend of the king as narrated by Mudgala. Bhrushandi continued. Sulabha lived in Mayura Kshetra for some time and then relocated to Kashi. On his deathbed, he remembered Mayura Kshetra. After death, he was initiated into Ganesh Mantra by Maheshwara. He lived with his wife in Kashi, engaged in devotional service to Shiva. At the time of final annihilation, Mahalaya, he became the form of Shiva, and later, when the universe was recreated, he was reborn along with his wife at Mayura Kshetra as a Brahmin devoted to Ganesha. In a short span of time, he merged with the divine at the place where he accomplished yoga. What can be said about death? In this manner, a human who has received samskara at Mayura Kshetra, wherever he may reside in this world, will return to Mayura Kshetra in the end. O Devas, now I shall tell you about the ideal rules to be followed for adopting the path of Kshetra Sanyas. The devotee must perform the Dwar Yatra before adopting Kshetra Sanyas. Thereafter, they must live as per the rules and practices of the Kshetra. One should not leave the Kshetra for the fear of breaking the rules of the Kshetra. Even if he suffers numerous sorrows, he should not forsake the Mayura Kshetra. This will make him comparable to Ganesha. One should not leave the Kshetra for the fear of breaking the rules of the Kshetra. Even if he suffers numerous sorrows, he should not forsake the Mayura Kshetra. This will make him comparable to Ganesha. He should perform the Dwar Yatra of the Devagraha. He should avoid those yatra which require him to cross the boundary of the Mayura Kshetra. He should perform the pujas of those devatas who are located within the Kshetra limits regularly. Such a yogi who does the yatra as ordained should be considered the guru of yogis themselves. In this context, I shall narrate a story wherein a Kshetra sannyasi was forced to leave the Mayura Kshetra. A Brahmin named Somadatta in the lineage of Jamadagni was a devotee of Ganesha since childhood. One day, renouncing his ashram along with his wife, he came to Mayur Kshetra. He performed the Dwar Yatra of the Kshetra, following the rules prescribed. He gradually developed a desire to forsake his own ashram and reside there permanently. He adopted Kshetra Sanyas. One day, an army of Rakshasas attacked the Mayura Kshetra. Seeing them, the Kshetra residents were terrified and fled. But Somadatta A Kshetra Sanyasi devoted to Mayuresha did not flee. Seeing the sannyasi, the Rakshasas captured and battered him with the intention of disrupting his karmas. Yet Somadatta adhered to his own dharma. The Rakshasas tried to force him to consume meat and alcohol. Yet the Brahmin mustered courage and continued worshipping and remembering Mayuresha in his mind. The Rakshasas handcuffed him and took him to the ferocious Khara Rakshasa. He imprisoned the Brahmin. Lamenting, Somadatta continued to do Manasa Puja of Ganesha, maintaining a fast. Seeing the plight of his devotee, Gajanana was enraged and created obstacles in the path of the Rakshasa. Surpanakha approached Khara and narrated the events about how her nose was chopped off by Rama. Khara was furious and attacked Rama. Rama killed Khara and other Rakshasas. Hearing the news of the Rakshasas' death, the citizens of that Kshetra returned. They released Somadatta from the prison. In this manner, Somadatta faced many difficulties, but he did not abandon the Mayura Kshetra. Bound by the devotion of his devotee, Ganesha bestowed the desired boons to Somadatta. He asked Ganesha to bestow proximity to him so that he could worship him continuously. Mayuresha granted his wishes. He became famous as Yoga Priya. In this manner, several devotees who adopted Kshetra Sanyas attained siddhis. It is difficult to narrate about them all, yet I have attempted to narrate the essence. Anyone who reads or listens to this description of the glory of Kshetra Sanyas will be blessed with joy and auspiciousness. Thus ends the 22nd chapter titled Description of Kshetra Sanyas in the 6th Khand of the Purana Upanishad Srimad Mudgal Puran, describing the legends of Vikata. Dedicated to Shri Gajanana. End of chapter 22.